Hey, everybody, and welcome to Boss Rush on this Friday afternoon, the 28th of March. My name is Chris Melisinos. I'm the principal evangelist for video games here at AWS, and my co-hosts are nowhere to be found today because they're all off doing some awesome stuff for the day. I know that Mark is out actually, I believe he's judging a video game competition or some student-based event. Susan is going to be hopefully joining us a little bit later today. Given the time changes going on where she lives, things are a little bit early, so her schedule's a little bit flipped, and Dean is in meetings. So I'm pretty much going to be holding down the fort today until Susan comes ahead and joins us today. But yeah, so it's just going to be me hanging out and talking about video games, video game news. Going to talk a little bit about GDC, and so I would love to hear from you if you are joining us today. So I'm going to go ahead and actually take a second here to pop over onto LinkedIn and remind people that we are live right now, so they can join us over here. In trying to go ahead and host the live stream both on LinkedIn and YouTube simultaneously proved to be a bit problematic. LinkedIn just sometimes is unstable, and it dropped the feed last time. So we're over here right now on YouTube, but I need to let everybody on LinkedIn know that we're here and we're live. So give me a moment to go ahead and do that. That's one of the things, when you have to produce all of this, participate, and you're doing it all by yourself here, right? There's no crew helping me out. You got to juggle a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, that's all right though. That's all right. All right, we'll go ahead and check this out. This is happening now, and we're going to go ahead and share this out to here, and I'm going to let everyone know that we're live. And when I say we're live, I'm live. So yeah, just come on over and join us here. All right. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and start. Although I could wait for the lovely and awesome song by Waterflame here to finish. Swirl, which is one of my favorites of Waterflames. Definitely go ahead and check out Waterflame's music. He has a channel on YouTube where he does all this music, and he lets people use his music actually for free if you contact him in a bunch of different projects and things. So shout out to Waterflame for letting us use his music over here. Hooray! All right, so let's go ahead and talk a bit about GDC this year while we're waiting for Susan to join. So GDC draws nearly 30,000 attendees and returns to San Francisco in early March 2026. Right here, hot off the presses from Dean Takahashi, right? So the 2025 Game Developers Conference drew nearly 30,000 registered attendees to San Francisco last week, just about the same number as last year. I mean, we did kind of hear, from attendees that they felt it was a little bit thin this year. I agree that it felt a little more spread out. The show floor wasn't as, kind of bustling or filled all the time as I'm used to seeing. And I think it just, there's a lot of reasons for this, right? We know that the transition phase that the industry is kind of going through right now. We know the financial situation for a lot of companies really having to place everything they have into the games that they're creating and cutting some of the extemporaneous things that they would, normally participate in. But then also, we did hear from people that were saying that they didn't want to travel from other countries, or there was just a bit uneasiness right now. And so I think all of that went into impacting it, the volume of people that we saw on the regular. But it was still completely packed from a scheduled perspective. In fact, this is the first year that I really didn't get a chance to walk the show floor very much at all, just because of the volume of meetings and discussions that I was having. So for me, it was as busy as it's ever been. But, as the industry is in transition, the conference is going to be in a bit of transition as well, right? So, and in the article here, I heard a lot of chatter how the event wasn't as crowded as before. The number surprises Dean, even though its imprecise hotel lobbies weren't full and the show floor wasn't crowded in years past, as I just said. He said he saw a decent attendance at the conference, and then again, I wasn't counting people. The choice of returning to San Francisco will turn some heads, as many are hoping to see the event move on to a new city or even a new country. And next year's GDC will overlap directly with South by Southwest 2026, which will take place in Austin, Texas from March 12th to March 18th. We'll see if GDC overlaps with NVIDIA's GTC in San Jose next year. The events have overlapped for a couple of years now. A couple of other pieces here. During the inaugural GDC Nights program, which ran on Monday, March 17th and Thursday, March 20th, the 6,000 attendees participated in a slate of activities that included a screening and roundtable featuring the stars of Hulu's Deli Boys, a screening of the deeply emotional and affirming Netflix documentary, The Remarkable Life of Ebeline, which I haven't seen yet, but I really want to see, and a live comedy show taking place in the world of Animal Crossing, hosted by comedian Jenny Yang. GDC 2025 hosted 1,000+ speakers across 750 sessions, workshops, and roundtable discussions, in addition to a plethora of networking opportunities. Dean moderated a session on layoffs and the job outlook in gaming with Amir Satfat, the game job champion. As always, side events were popular at GDC. I made it to Drake Star Partners CEO reception and Griffin Gaming Partners annual GDC party. They also threw their own side event called GamesBeat Crossfire. And then lastly, GDC featured developers, exhibitors, and attendees from all over the globe with 400 top game industry teams, including Meta, Tencent Games, Snail Games, and Servers.com, including AWS, their Dean, exhibiting their latest products, services, and innovations. It was also a space for attendees to play and connect with the developers behind new and exciting independent games, including the finalists from the Independent Games Festival in the IGF Pavilion and the Alt Control GDC exhibit, which is really, those are my two favorite places to visit on the show floor every year. And I didn't really get to either one for any meaningful amount of time, which really bummed me out. Those exhibits saw homes of games that use alternative controllers, including a seesaw, a cat's furry behind, and a broken shower. So pretty awesome for those sections there. Again, we hope that going into next year, the industry is in a little bit of a better place and a little more even-keeled, and that we continue to see, the rise of GDC and participation again. So, all right. So that was just some quick GDC catch up there. So I also was posting a bunch of photos from GDC on the onto LinkedIn, and I think it was really important for not just this year, every year, right? It's important to remember the industry that we're in, the amount of time that we spent over the years in this, the artists that are continuing to build more art and build more games and do all of this stuff, and just try to help people to smile a bit more, right? And to feel connected to each other. And so I love doing that and running into people and meeting new friends and building some memories. So it's really lovely. So go check out the photo feeds on my my LinkedIn page. That would be great. Let's see what notifications that we have up here. Anthony Mahal said, we're live. No, he said, great. You guys are live. Yeah. So right now, it doesn't look like we have anybody jumping into the chat. So we may have to go ahead and make sure that we are also streaming this out to LinkedIn in the future, just because that's where, our audience really is, right? And in fact, maybe what we'll go ahead and do in the interest of getting this done now is we'll go ahead and just set it up right now and pop that out there. So yeah, that was GDC. While I do that, I'll also go ahead and another story that I wanted to talk about was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle hits PS5 on April 17th, which is great. And there was this wonderful ad piece that was done by this company, I believe it's called Create, where my good friend Tom Ham works, and I had a chance to see this, or get a little insight into what was going to happen without any details being revealed. And it was great to see this, the demo that they went ahead, or rather the commercial that they went ahead and did. And it's awesome. So I'm going to go play that here while I go ahead and push this out to LinkedIn as well. So here we go.
Nolan, buddy, I got your super urgent text.
Troy, please, have a seat.
New room?
Yes. I broke in about an hour ago. We don't have much time. Since taking on the role of Indiana Jones, you're now on the cusp of being brought into a very exclusive club.
You said cusp.
We have a few questions, of course.
Sure.
What makes a great adventure?
It's about being prepared. Like, you'd be surprised at how often a whip comes in handy.
I doubt that. How are you going to deal with private military forces with just a whip?
You know, use the old...
Headbutt. I like it. Aggressive. See, I'm more of a sidearms kind of guy.
You would be.
Jeans. Henley.
Somehow always half-tucked.
Of course.
Of course. What about finding ancient artifacts?
Yes. Sold to the highest bidder.
Donated to museums.
Sold to that museum.
Going somewhere unexpected.
What is an adventure without going somewhere new? Trey? Troy? Welcome to the club. Done this before.
Yeah. How many fingers did you have before?
And it was so great getting both of those actors together, right, to do that piece. Really, really awesome. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's coming to the PlayStation 5 on April 17th. It's part of Microsoft's gaming. Phil Spencer's strategy to take Xbox everywhere and debut even the biggest exclusive on the Xbox platform on other platforms. This has been controversial for gamers who wonder why they've ever bought Xbox hardware, but that's part of the trade-off. There have been endless debates on social media about how Microsoft should keep the crown jewels like its Indiana Jones games as a reward for its loyal Xbox fans. So what happens in Indiana Jones was his favorite game of 2024. It was mine as well. Absolutely loved it. Actually, I'm still loving it because I haven't finished it yet. But yeah, to see both Nolan North and Troy Baker in the same ad doing this, and of course, you can tell that it's going to be a PlayStation platform because there's that blue glow coming out of the box. So I thought that was it was awesome that they did that. Absolutely loved it. All right, let me go ahead and see if we can pop this in here anyway. And yeah, what time is it right now? We are at 12:43. And so we're going to go ahead and put that at 12:30. And we'll go ahead and do this at 1:30 as well. 1:30 p.m. Here we go. And let's see. Yeah, that's all fine and good. And actually, yeah, I think what they're trying to do is get me to commit to a specific time instead of just going live right now, which is really what I want to do. Let's see if we can go ahead and get that done. And yeah, all right. So yeah, on to the next article here. Of course, I'm also getting some messages popping in here. Dean is going to be joining us here momentarily. So I'm going to have him join in just a moment. His meetings ended early, so he's going to go ahead and join us over here right now. Please let people know on LinkedIn that this is also going on here. That would be great. And Susan is also going to be joining us in a minute, so that's going to be good too. All right, while they do that, I'm just going to, and they join, I'm going to go and just have one other discussion. I'm going to talk about one other story here, which is, let's see, an Amazon Luna one. So hang on here. Let me go ahead and get Dean into our session here. Hey, Dean, how are you, buddy? All right, let me do this and get your noise suppression on there. Get your volume kicked up a little bit. Get you into studio mode, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that we're going to drop you in here correctly. Let me transition that out, And let's go and populate Dean's scene, which is what I call it over here, with his webcam setting there. So I can get you on screen with me. And here we go. And we should have, hopefully here in a minute. There we go. Mr. Takahashi.
Hello.
How are you, buddy?
All right. Sorry I'm late. But,
No. That's fine. Got work to do.
Event.
What's that?
Oh, I had an overlapping call here.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. Yeah, well, I'm sorry we didn't get to see you didn't get to spend time with you at GDC. It was a bit crazy for myself as well.
Yeah, a late night podcast. You guys made it happen. Huh?
Oh, yeah, we did make that happen for sure. That was, that was a lot of fun. That was,
yeah, sorry you missed that one.
Well, yeah, it was hectic. So what had happened was we kept on bringing in more people into the room. And so we probably had, I don't know, like 15 people at some point in the room there. Well, I'm like, remember, this is all going out, and this is part of the stuff that we do in our day-to-day here. And yeah, it was great. Mark Delora, we had to keep on track, though, because that guy is causing all kinds of problems. Oh, we have Susan with us as well. Yay! Hey.
Hello?
What's happening, buddy?
I got my voice back.
You did
Mostly.
get your voice back.
95% back.
Nice. Nice. Well, while the two of you laggards were taking your sweet time coming in and joining me today. No, I'm just teasing. I did have a question that popped up here. What was Chris's favorite Indiana Jones movie? Oh, boy. The Last Crusade. Last Crusade was my favorite one. I think it was fully formed Indy, showed more of his backstory. Definitely my favorite. But my favorite Indiana Jones property, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. Greatest game. That should have been a movie, and it was absolutely awesome. Yeah. So, anyway. Yeah, so Mr. Mark is off today. I think he's participating in like a school or a student-based event.
Yeah, he's judging something.
Yeah, he's judging something
nice.
today. Well, because he's just a judgmental jerk, apparently. And I had already just kind of given some of the recap on GDC. How about for the both of you? How were you feeling about GDC this year? What was a bit weird? What? Yeah. Give us your quick
I guess
feedback.
I mean the numbers that they put out seemed kind of weird because for the last couple of years like they had gotten as high as 34,000 people at GDC in the past, and they said nearly 30,000 came last year, and they said again this year nearly 30,000 came. But it didn't feel like 30,000.
How nearly?
So the nearly part is an
gradient
important
work?
word there.
It's a really interesting dial.
Yeah.
10,000
And like say,
close.
yeah, if you look at Friday in a normal GDC, the W Hotel lobby is full of people, right? And
Yeah.
when I went in there on Friday, it was kind of a ghost town, right? So just very different patterns for people. Like I didn't see large numbers of people in the quad green area, right? By the old Metreon. And so, the activity was limited. The show floor, like say on Friday in particular, was also sparse. And so like the people may have come, but they may have come earlier on. Like on Monday, I noticed larger crowds at say like just the conference, right? And so different pattern for sure. Fewer parties, but maybe more side events, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really count everything up that way, but I don't know what your impressions were, Susan.
Yeah, no, I would echo everything you just said. I got there on Sunday, and the first evening I was just, I was at a dinner with Chris and others. But I remember thinking Monday, which is early, as I walked through the Marriott, it looked shockingly quiet. And I thought, oh, well, maybe it's just because it's Monday. But then Tuesday felt pretty quiet. Wednesday felt pretty quiet. And, it never, like, anecdotally, you could get a table at the St. Regis without too much pushing people to try to get into their table. It wasn't 100%, but so that was weird. So it definitely felt quieter. I know that, was it Eugene Evans told me he thought maybe it was that people were sending their senior folks this year and leaving the rest of the team at home. Mike Metzger kind of said the same thing, and there's probably some truth to that. There definitely were a lot of senior folks at GDC. Like it was a lot of seeing people that I've known for 30 years and maybe haven't caught up with in a long time. So that made me feel like a lot of the more senior folks were there.
I saw the occasional high-powered people in pictures. People were posting on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I'm going like, "Oh, I didn't get an invitation to that event."
There were some VC things. That was a good sign, right? Like Rain Group threw something. General Cast. It was people that don't usually like General Catalyst. I don't think so much as a games fund, but they threw a party with a couple other funds, and Kleiner Perkins threw a dinner. So there were a few of those things that I wouldn't have expected.
Yeah, and we did a side event ourselves on Tuesday night
which was great.
Those debates with Susan.
That was really fun.
Yeah. So that took us out of the running for a bunch of other side events that night.
Yes, but it was worth it to be at yours, Dean. I did the rushing around that night. I went to the One Up thing for a little bit, and then I ran over to yours, and then I went back to the One Up thing for a little bit. Tuesday night always ends up being the kind of everybody wants to do their thing that night,
Yeah, I made it to the Griffin Gaming party.
How was that?
It was nice. It was crowded, very crowded, and it ran later as well, so that helped.
I went to the Behold Ventures thing later that night, which was nice.
Were you beholden to them for Watch this. You ready? I'm bringing back the dad dab, and I do that in front of my kids when we're out doing like, please stop, and I do it nice and slow. I just go, do you mean this? Like
and a bit
dad
of
dance,
and you can't.
A bit of the sort of news that say say ESA had their usual night to Unite dinner. They announced that they raised $1.25 million, which is pretty good, or pretty on target for what they usually get. And so
I was going to say, I was wondering how that compares. I don't know what the past numbers have been.
Yeah, so I think it's good that they at least were able to hit some good targets for raising funding for children's charities, I guess.
Yeah.
That is
and there's your article right there. Since its inception in 1994, the ESA Foundation, created by the Game Industry Trade Group Entertainment Software Association, raised over $23 million for a wide variety of causes that encourage creativity and talent development in the games industry. Definitely a wonderful, event to go to.
And
unfortunately, I didn't get to go that evening. As you mentioned, there were a lot of things that were going on, and I was committed. Well, I went to an event that was held by Digital Eclipse up in Emeryville, and I'd missed the one the prior year, and it was just to go in and be in their arcade, and then in Micah's office, which is just
my God, Mike's office, Jesus,
that swirling vortex of entropy as you walk. Almost.
I had to video it just to take a video of it back to Lee and make him a little sad, of course. But
nice.
So it was a little crazy, but wonderful evening there.
But I did get. I should have gotten to you guys. I forgot to bring it the first night. Tiny Rebel Brewery did a Call of Duty beer. I had absolutely nothing to do with this. I didn't help. I didn't make any intros. Somehow on their own, they did a deal with Activision in London to do a Call of Duty beer. So I had 6 of them with me. So Tom Russo ended up picking them up, and I think he's going to bring it back for Mike as well to go into his crazy collection. It was nice branding.
Yeah, and Russo made that bottle of wine too, which I couldn't believe was so good.
It was really good.
That's what it's come to, folks. We're doing bathtub gin and toilet bowl wine.
We're finding other industries to make money.
That's right. It's all about merch. All about merch. So.
And look, I mean, it started off as a weird week, not to bring it down. The memorials for Carter, and so it was an unusual GDC. It felt very emotional to me. I guess I called. Now I was calling Lee in the evenings, and I'm like, I know this is going to sound soppy, but I think this year, and I don't think I was alone in feeling this, the sense of family in the industry
100%.
really hit home, you know?
Yeah.
And it maybe that's why I came out of it so motivated and excited and bullish compared to so many people, is I just felt surrounded by people who care about me and who I care about, you know?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And so I wound up canceling some things that I committed to, and we always overcommit, right? When we go to these, because you want to see everybody do everything. And for me, it was about, especially this year, for me, it was 25 years since I first started going to GDC, which, I mean, somebody asked me before, you know, how many years? I said, oh, 24. And I was like, oh, crap, no, it's a quarter of a century now. And that was the thing that was stuck in my head. And so for me, it was about not just the business of being at GDC, but it was also making sure to take time to really connect with friends, family, right, and people that have helped you along your way in your career. So this was definitely a much more reflective and emotionally charged, you know, GDC for a lot of us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Which is also why
And
I didn't
Dean,
get on the
you
show
missed a
floor.
really
30 minutes on the show floor is all I got this year, which was astonishing.
I
me.
never went. I never ever went. I picked up my pass, but I never actually used it.
Yeah, I went
Dean, you
mostly
missed
on
a
Friday.
crazy night last week with the boss rush. It was sorry you couldn't be there. You probably would have gotten us to be a bit more sedate and behave. Chris did not do a very good job of managing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to post the video to our YouTube channel as well. It is on LinkedIn, but the funniest one for
was
me,
really fun.
like Mark is normally, you know, buttoned up there. Mark was off.
He was goofy.
He was off the rails that night. And I remember I pointed at him and I was like, okay, you. And then he just reached out and went, boop, like that. And that was it. Like we all just fell apart after that. Thank goodness we had Lucian Parsons to step in, their dean. Susan identified herself as not Dean or not Mark.
Not Mark. I was not Mark.
Not Mark, and Mark was not Dean, and Lucian was Lucian.
And then we caught the fact that neither Chris nor Mark have very good Mario knowledge, which I find shocking since Mark.
No. That was a good one. That what is it called again?
It's called Don't Wake Wiggler. Do you know what this was, Dean?
No.
So in Mario Party, one of the mini games is this giant caterpillar. And I only know this because it's a whole other topic about a prototype we were going to do. Everyone has to take turns petting the caterpillar. But if you pet it too much, it wakes up and it gets all angry. And so it's called Don't Wake Wiggler. And they both were positive I was making this up. And so I had to look up a video and, you know, then, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, there we were late at night and you're like, no, it's about this wiggler worm. And we're like, that's what we're talking about? Okay. And no alcohol.
None of us have been drinking at all. Yeah,
no, that was the first comment, though. Somebody emptied the mini bar. It's like nobody emptied the mini bar. Anyway, so.
If only. Next time.
You were certainly missed, Dean. You were certainly missed.
You were.
For sure.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. On to some more news.
Yeah.
Ubisoft? Should we talk about the Ubisoft thing?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wild announcement, wasn't it?
$1.25 billion coming in from Tencent, but only for a subsidiary that has the three major properties in it.
I thought it was all the IP. I hadn't actually, so that's interesting. It's which was Assassin's Creed, obviously.
I mean, the ones that they called out and said were Assassin's Creed and then Rainbow Six and what was the other one? What's it? Far Cry. Yeah.
Far Cry.
So it's like a core IP subsidiary, and it's interesting that they can come up with a valuation for that as if they might separate it from the rest of the company, and so the valuation for that is $4 billion. Ubisoft also, Ubisoft has a lot of debt, and so like that's an interesting question. If like, what are you gonna maybe if you're trying to come up with a value for Ubisoft at $4 billion? It's well above the trading price, right? And then also doesn't take into account where the debt is. Like, does the parent company hold all the debt, or are they attaching some of the debt to the subsidiary? So it's it
It's
could
kind
be a
of an
bit
interesting
confusing
field.
for investors, right?
Yeah, that part
Yeah.
for sure. It's
Yeah.
interesting from a, when I was at Take Two, we loved sort of picking the bones of companies. And
Mhm.
we bought a lot of Atari IP in particular. We were notorious, and Majesco as well. We bought a lot of their IP.
Oh my goodness.
Because they would sell off their IP. And this is
Mhm.
like, they're not selling it off; they're selling 20. So I kind of think part of me thinks it's interesting because those companies don't have the IP anymore. Atari's really annoyed that I got XCOM for free as part of the Civilization deal, for example. Like, what would happen if they kept it and just put up a separate company and sold a little bit of it? I think that's kind of interesting.
Well,
As a
in
team
the
person,
case for Atari, it's a good thing that a lot of the stuff is kind of reverting back to them, and they're picking up, the other ones, right? So they picked up like in television and all that other stuff, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
and somebody
yeah,
was like, the first console wars are finally over because Atari got it all. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
that was big. I mean, smaller things were news as well for sure during last week. I don't know how much of the GDC stuff you hit, but Hank Rogers has a book called The Perfect Game that's coming out, and he did an event at GDC. The ESA launched their accessibility initiative in a sort of main stage session at GDC too.
Yeah, let's definitely take a moment to talk about that because that one is awesome, right? Really, really awesome. And I'm going to bring that up here on the screen. Yeah, their major accessibility initiative at GDC. I know, Dean, you already wrote about it. But what I do love, and really, I applaud Microsoft for leading this charge like years ago, right, with their accessibility controller. And I don't know if
2018,
this, but this great video about differently abled people and kids and finding equal footing against their colleagues that may not have the same things to overcome it, just in terms of physicality. Being able to play and meet each other directly is awesome, and I'm thrilled that initiatives like this exist. And again, really, hats off to Microsoft and to ESA for continuing to build on this stuff, right? It's
they aired that trailer at the Super Bowl, and that was pretty amazing. And the whole effort for them kicked off with the Xbox Adaptive Controller debuting in 2018 now,
right?
So it's a long time ago. And Sony followed suit with their own controller. I think it makes sense though for all these companies now to circle around standard sort of definitions of accessibility and the different ways you can tag a game, so that if like say a deaf person can play this game because it has closed caption on it, or it doesn't, right? And so that these little tags that can attach to each game at retail, so before people buy it, they can know whether they can play it.
Yeah, and your tags right there. Clear text, large and clear subtitles, narrated menu, stick inversion, save anytime, among others, right? So so you know what it's actually going to take from a physical perspective and engagement perspective to be able to play those games, so you can be prepared to do so. And I think that's wonderful. Right?
Yeah, we're going to have a panel related to this at GameSpeed Summit as well in May. So
nice.
Oh, awesome.
Continue that conversation with them.
Yep.
And
I'm still working out if I can get to LA this year for that. I'd love to be out there. I hate to miss it. So.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. All right,
Mark,
you both keep talking while I go ahead and look at the LinkedIn piece. Don't worry about that. So
I was going to say,
we're good. You just keep going.
Okay. There was a good session that I attended and also just got briefed on with about Monica Harrington, who was one of the hidden figures who was kind of left out of video game history because she was a co-founder of Valve, essentially. Her husband, Mike Harrington, was a co-founder with Gabe Newell, and their names went on all the legal papers and things like that. But she happened to be working as a marketing and PR lead at Microsoft, and was handling Xbox related announcements as well. So she knew games and was very instrumental in creating a fair amount of the strategy and marketing plans for Valve, and was there for the first 18 months plus in the making of Half-Life, right? And so as an example, she gave a very interesting talk at GDC and talked about things like how she had come up with the idea for the Game of the Year edition for Half-Life, and said like, we're going to make this box. It's going to say Game of the Year on it, and then we're going to launch it. And that was like a year before the game shipped. so they were ready with this marketing plan, and it turns out that it gets Game of the Year from a bunch of
different... be very confident.
Yeah. And then she also, sort of on her way out, recommended that they moved into digital, because like they had a rough experience with Sierra, like right after, say, the launch happened for the holidays for Half-Life. I happened to write a story like during that time, but that was one of the only ways they could get attention for the game from retailers. It's like getting press out there, and the sales results were going to come sort of be announced much later, but they were doing well, but they had not yet made back the development cost on the game through the first holidays. And then Sierra comes to them and says, well, now we're going to move on to marketing other games, right? We know it's doing well, but we have other priorities. And then they said this was a total surprise to them in this meeting that Sierra meets with them. And then she said, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to keep marketing this game, and if you don't, we're going to tell the rest of the industry that this is what you did, right? And so they came around. Sierra came around and said, yes, we'll continue marketing your game, and it turned out to then have all the legs for things like Game of the Year awards and further sales, and so like the real impact came after the first holiday season, really. So Monica Harrington was truly this hidden figure who played a big role. She and Mike Harrington left after about 18 months, and it became really Gabe Newell's company after that.
Yeah.
But it was their contribution was important. She was only sort of surfacing here because she wrote a Substack post, or a Medium post after she saw a documentary on the 25th anniversary of Valve, and she was not mentioned. And there was also another woman who mentioned that, like, yeah, and I was the only other woman there besides the office manager. And Monica was left out in part because she had a day job at Microsoft, and then she continued working for Valve at nights and weekends, and so she wasn't really going into the office that much, right? So just lots of reasons. And then so Vlad Miku saw this, and then Kate Edwards brought it to the GDC advisory board, and they got her to do this hour-long talk at GDC.
That's cool. That's fascinating.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was great.
That is fantastic. Yeah, giving people credit for the stuff they do is super important. Like, it's amazing to me. Well, I mean, look, some of the retelling of history, sometimes it's just unconscious bias or a gap, right? People have in putting those things together. So long as you go back and correct it, right, and try to do better next time, right? That's the important thing. So.
Yeah. And that Valve actually did issue a statement, acknowledging her contributions. As we're sort of going to print our story, and she was doing the talk as well. So that was good of Valve.
Well, at least that's something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, our industry isn't always great at celebrating people or celebrating people after they left. When we left, Take-Two, Lee had been producer on GTA 4. That was pulled off as soon as we left, and it was never mentioned again, his involvement in it, and it sucks.
Yeah, but that's what we need to do, things like this, and continue doing more programming that brings that out, for people and highlights, people and elevates them. So yeah, I'm looking for my own personal stuff for this year. I'm looking to make sure that we have a diverse lineup and that we really are celebrating people that may also have been overlooked. Excuse me. 2 years ago, Chris Charla and I were standing out in the Herba Buena Gardens there at GDC and talked about, man, you know, it would be really good are like podcasts that it's like, this is not game history. It's like, you know, how did the person that was dealing with, you know, a particular function in this company save, you know, a game getting out the door, but we don't talk about them, right? So it's not just the stories we have, but the stories we need to tell about everybody,
definitely.
you know, in our industry. So
Definitely.
But that's a
I
big
talked
one.
to I told you I talked about my brain is I talked to Don Daglow about the stuff the museum is doing,
Yeah.
you know, and how they're trying to take oral histories of folks in the industry so these stories don't get forgotten, which I think is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a very short ceremony too at our Crossfire event.
Yeah, that
here in
was
GDC.
great.
Yeah,
That was super cool.
So the folks who give out the IGDA Foundation's Gerald Lawson Award, named after the man who created the first game controller, right? And had many contributions in the early days of gaming. So his daughter gave out the award to Muriel Tramis, who I had not heard of before, but she's
Yes,
an engineer from Martinique, and she was the first Black woman video game designer, and made games like Freedom, Rebels, and In the Darkness, and Willow, Geisha, Fascination, Lost in Time, and Urban Runner. So she was quite prolific at making games, and so she got an award for her contributions to the industry at our event. So that was nice. And
That's awesome.
yeah,
All right.
nice to recognize people.
100%. 100%. For sure. For sure.
Yeah. And you were mentioning the best Indiana Jones game. Well, I think that was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And the news this week was that it's hitting PlayStation 5 on April 17th.
Yep.
So
yeah, and I showed everyone the ad. That was one of the things I talked about before you all showed up. And I love the fact they had Nolan North and Troy Baker, right? Like the two biggest names in like male voicing, right, of those types of characters. So basically, you've got Nathan Drake and Indiana Jones, right? Their voices doing it.
And I'd forgotten Troy Baker was part of the Uncharted series as well, right? And so like wasn't he Sam? I guess, or so they're reuniting in that that video, but also Troy is really he's like taking tips from Nathan, or
like if you hadn't
Nolan
seen
on adventure games, right?
Right. Yeah, and if you hadn't seen it, I have it up here.
So Troy is the voice for Indiana Jones, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
And there's
New room.
there's the video. You can go on the go on to
pretty funny.
The Games Weird article and see it, and it's linked in there. But the reveal, of course, is the blue controller, popping up there. And here I'm just gonna spoil it.
Yeah.
With the whip.
Oh yeah.
How many fingers did you have before?
Right, it's just awesome. So they did great, yeah. And I think this may be one that I double dip on, Dean, right? And go pick it up as well for the PS5, even though I have it on PC.
Nice.
Yep, yeah, it was great. Very good.
We have news today for like 2027 is when we're gonna see the Zelda movie.
Yeah.
So,
really?
What are we thinking about that?
I don't know enough about it, right?
No, I'm gonna ask you what you think about the movie.
It's a very balanced opinion.
Live action Link.
Live action.
Yeah.
If they do
Is it
not
live
do,
action?
if they do not have that, excuse me, princess, if they do not have that somewhere in the movie as a nod to the cartoon, I'm going to be very, very upset with my friends at Nintendo.
So it is live action. Is that
Live
that
action?
confirmed?
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you
March
guys started
March
to
26,
watch,
2027.
I know. Yes,
started-
that's quite a launch announcement. 2
Have you started
years.
to watch The Studio yet? The new TV series that Seth Rogen's doing on Apple
No,
TV.
haven't
Oh,
seen it
no.
yet, but I was having a conversation about that actually last evening. Yeah, I want
About
to see.
Kool-Aid. Yeah, the first episode was dynamite.
Mm,
And you guys should go watch it.
All
Just
right.
it keeps coming up in conversations today. I'm like, kind of reminds me of the first episode of The Studio.
oh man. All
the,
right.
the setup is he's trying to be like to make good things, and he keeps getting pushed back by the machine, and which we obviously experience in our own industry too.
Yeah, of course.
I remember that was like the episode 5 of Mythic Quest as well.
Love
First
Mythic
season.
Quest.
That they had a nice suits versus creative sort of conflict in that particular episode. That was a good one.
Isn't that always the way, for goodness sake? Well, on to some other news that Dean was kind enough to write about is Amazon Luna just signed a multi-year deal with EA to bring big games to cloud gaming. So the Luna Cloud Gaming division over here at Amazon signed this deal, and starting yesterday, they brought Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, and Dead Space are available to Luna subscribers or Luna Plus subscribers, with more games coming soon.
Yeah,
So,
those are some big games and good ones
Very
to bring
cool.
over.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
yep. So we were happy to see that, and it's a big company over here, so you don't know everything that's going. So I was like, oh, that's really good. Now I need to call my Luna counterparts and go, what?
Yeah, I don't know how you guys feel, but it does feel to me like there's a resurgence that's possible and happening here for cloud gaming, partly because the tech is working a lot better now, right? I mean,
Finally,
it hit the scene 10 years ago, and I would say the internet wasn't really ready, right? And,
worse than that. I worked for Yummy 25 years ago, and the tech definitely wasn't there then. As we were all on dial-up.
Yeah, it felt like when Microsoft in the Xbox said we're gonna leave out the dial-up, hardware
connection.
in our machine, and just put an Ethernet connector into it only, right? For the original Xbox, right?
Yeah.
but yeah, cloud gaming has advanced. There's companies like, say, Comcast are rolling out some low latency features across the entire network now,
Right.
And so they can prioritize game traffic over other kinds of traffic, and just give you a better internet experience, and that has always been crucial to cloud gaming being responsive enough.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and the other part of that too is last mile problem. And this has just been a problem in the annals of the history of the internet or the web, right? Which is you can only optimize to a certain point. Once you get behind the consumer's router, everything gets messy. Like how many times you had to clean, it's showing 84 devices are connected to my network. And you're like, no, they're not all connected. They were just signed in. Let me go ahead and kind of clean that out or optimize for those things. But as that technology has gotten better, and you have things like, the way we approach it, having an overbuild or leveraging the overbuild of EC2 right at the edge means that I can get servers as close as possible to where people are going to play. And you're using standardized hardware instances. So much of the cloud streaming game, services earlier on had exotic hardware in there, and they were doing all kinds of custom things to try to squeeze more latency out. But that also meant the developer then had to port to all of those and had to test against all these different variants. Think of them almost as having to approach like an individual console, right? By using standardized tech, if one server isn't available, it just grabs the next generalized server with that instance that runs that game. And so I think it's what we demonstrated at GDC, which is it's called Game Lift Streams. And so this is kind of the B2B to C side of that, right? It's some of the core Luna technology, but then leveraging the scalability of EC2 to provide that everywhere. And
yeah, that was cool, where I think that it's like a self-service now for developers to really say they can decide, do I want my game to be on the cloud?
Exactly.
Checkbox, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And don't need to publish through another service. They can stand it up and do it themselves, right? Which is pretty great. The last thing I'll say just generally about cloud gaming is it's about setting expectations. You know, part of the discussion is always, well, give me the ultra wide 4K, 120 hertz, blah, blah, blah. It's like anybody that's doing that is going to go buy a 50 series card, right, and put it into their machine. So it's about making sure that you have the right type of games for the right audience. And in fact, if you go and look at like Steam stats, for example, the number one setup for people on playing games through Steam, 1080p, 60 hertz. Like that's just what it is, right? And so again, when you set the right expectation, this is about optionality, this is about getting access to the things that you love from wherever you happen to be, but that premium experience may be on your $5,000 rig that you have at home. Then you understand what you're getting. And I think it's just communicating with customers and understanding how they can go ahead and leverage this technology. The flip side of that is it keeps getting better. Right, and it keeps getting closer to I can't discern between the two, and it's been great, excellent reception at GDC, and clearly companies like EA jumping in now to work on these platforms. Pretty great.
I met with another company too at the GDC called Find, which is PHYND, and they're doing an ad-supported free cloud gaming service that's coming later this year, and you have to be confident to give away a service for free and expect ad revenue to pay for your costs there. And so I think that's another sign about confidence in the sort of costs of cloud gaming coming down, I think, for that company to sort of be daring enough to offer that alternative model for gamers.
Yeah,
Look,
we'll see what kinds of games they have.
Because of my experience back in the day doing this, I've always tended to be the biggest skeptic because I firsthand saw how hard it was to do 25 years ago when there was obviously the internet connection issue getting in the way, and then I watched, Gaikai and Stadia and all of that, and I've always wrestled like, what's the problem? No one buys physical discs anymore. Like I can't remember the last time I actually bought a physical disc. So there surely shouldn't be a huge step between the fact that all my stuff is digital anyway and the fact that I don't need to have it there locally on the PlayStation, which is always full thanks to my 16-year-old son. So I can never do
the exception
anyway.
is only Chris buys physical discs.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough.
As a preservationist, there are some of us that still prefer physical media. But I will say I bought more digital versions of games in the past 2 years than at any other point, right?
So there was
Once upon a time, we all thought it was silly, the idea that we would ever get rid of physical discs, right? Do you remember those days?
Yeah.
Susan.
So there is news there too, though, for
sorry,
Nintendo.
Dean, you're talking to somebody who has like this from 1982 on his desk, this one from 1985 on his desk, this one from 1993, 400 and some odd pages. That's the best. I'm just going to hang on to this. You all keep talking. We're good.
But eventually it became okay, and it almost happened like without us even paying attention to it. It went from, I remember, was it PlayStation 4 where there was rumor it was going to ship without a drive?
Yeah. And then
4 or 3, and then they changed their mind at the last minute, right? Or something like that.
PS5 did it.
And now you have the option, and a lot of people are not buying the discs right there.
We do have the disc,
but I'm sorry. Pro tip. Always buy the most complete version of a system, especially Gen 1s. Like, just get it, right? Like, I'll save an extra $100, but no, if you can afford it, just go get the one that's got everything in it, right? Because eventually some of those pieces start to disappear. So if you want most optionality, get the biggest Gen 1 you can.
And one thing announced this week was Nintendo's virtual game cards.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. I've got a couple.
Yesterday, that was weird too, but the phone app was weird.
Yeah, let's
go
to the cards one first. So
and that's a recognition that say the little physical cards that you put into your Switch have been a sort of blocker in terms of being able to do the things you can with a digital version. And so what they've got now is that you can get a digital version of a game, and you can now share that with another Switch, right? And
Right.
so instead of taking the card out and putting it into the other Switch, now what you're doing is getting a digital version. You connect one time for like a longer period, but then after that, it becomes a little more seamless, where now you can play that game you bought for one Switch on another Switch in digital form only, right?
Yeah.
So you can do things also like, say, you can lend it out to a family member for 2 weeks, but you can only lend it out to one family member, and then it goes back to your you can't play it during that time, but then it goes back to your own Switch, and then you can lend it out after that to another family member. So there's some family sharing of games that's possible now with these digital versions, and yeah, if the Switch 2 comes out in the future now, and you have these digital versions, you can then share them to the Switch 2, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to actually go and rebuy things, right? So
Yeah.
this is like them getting ready for the transition, but it's also kind of like they're arriving in the 21st century now, right?
Well, okay. So let's once again give credit where credit is due. So you remember when Microsoft came out with the Xbox One, the whole idea was when you had, a license around, well, theirs was around physical content, so it's really not the same thing. But remember their whole thing was when you took that back and you sold it in, it removed the key for that physical media from your account. So then it could be resold to somebody else, and then you wouldn't have access to it anymore, right? And everybody went, bananas. It was too complicated, right? Just basically for its time. They're basically doing the same thing here. And Steam's been doing this for a long time too, right? Where you can set your family accounts, and then you can have, if like one of my kids wants to play a game in my library, they can from their machine, but I won't have access to it while they're playing it, right? And back and forth. So it is good that they are understanding that families are dispersed. A lot of the stuff is coming digitally, and how can families and friends be able to share those experiences without having to always just buy a new version, another copy, right? Which is great. Good for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then like EA also has this sort of sharing going on for the Split Fiction game, which is the 2-player co-op game.
Yeah. You
can buy one copy and then you share that with the other friend, and the other friend doesn't have to buy it, but you can play it together. Right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I haven't played it yet. I have no more game
spectacular.
players in my house.
It's a funny game, and it's a good one.
Yeah, but I said, I don't have anybody to play it with at home, so.
Well, that one you can play over the internet with someone too. That's right. So you can play co-op.
Dean, I don't know if I have any friends on the internet anymore. Yeah, that's definitely one to go and grab Delora, I think, and pull them into that. Well, let's talk about the other Nintendo one. It was the one we had up here just a minute ago. This is the weird one, right? Another weird phone app.
It's like something that they seem to be doing to get ready for the Switch 2 in some way. But finding out your Nintendo news via an app instead of going out to watch a Nintendo Direct, I guess, and always having this Nintendo information at your fingertips now.
Yeah.
So it's another way for them to push information to you.
Yeah.
But I don't understand what's the rest of the purpose of it right now, right? So maybe more things will come later.
Yeah, we'll see. Their track record around some of the stuff is we went out and we tried it, and then kind of quietly gets pulled back. But I mean, if this is a direct channel to have access to their customer base and funnel everybody basically down one particular avenue of information. That's good for them. I want to see how they're going to do it. So I'll definitely download it. Did you download the Nintendo Music one? Have you done? No, you haven't, Susan. Have you heard of that one?
No, I have not.
So rather than releasing all their music on like Spotify or something, they made a music app. So you can go download it and then get access to all of this Nintendo music directly in its own dedicated music app. And it is pretty cool.
Charming.
It is quite charming for sure. For sure. Yeah, and the news, the next Nintendo Direct is going to happen on April 2nd,
Yeah.
which is my birthday. So I'm like, yes, Nintendo, of course, held off for this auspicious occasion and has decided to do that.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to fly out to New York for this thing.
Oh, you
so
are?
We'll see how that goes.
Nice.
But yeah, there's a media event that goes with this announcement.
Oh,
And,
very cool.
Yeah. Nice.
Very,
Nice to go
very
to
cool.
the actual game console launch again.
Yeah, right? I mean, how many more of these are we going to have going forward, right? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I was kind of bummed, by the way, that the Nintendo shop didn't open in time for GDC. That felt like a missed opportunity there. I kept walking past it, sadly.
Oh,
the San Francisco store. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, of all times to like not have it open. Like,
Yeah, that's
GDC.
gonna be awesome. But hopefully, I don't know. Is it gonna be ready for the Switch 2? I guess we don't know when
It's supposed to open in
sales
May.
start yet.
It's supposed to be like in a month and a half or something like that. Like
Yeah.
they just missed GDC.
That's
Yeah.
probably good timing for when you can expect a Switch 2 launch then, right?
Yes,
Oh,
that's,
yeah,
probably,
for sure.
that's probably
for sure.
true. Yeah.
For sure. Hey, I know we're up to the bottom of the hour here. I did want to share one other thing. I had the real opportunity to interview this gentleman, Gerard Williams, the hip hop gamer.
Hip-hop
And
gamer,
so I do a series called Game Industry Legends, where I interview founders of companies and people that basically built the industry or have had outsized impact. And he certainly is. If you've not spent any time listening to Gerard, like the passion that he has around games, his story growing up in New York, and we went into talking about the overlap between hip hop and video games growing up in the same eras. I grew up in New York as well, in Queens, and so it was just this really just wonderful conversation about his journey, some shared experiences, and recognizing the work he's doing. Like, he got connected with Denzel Washington and brought his Playmakers program to the Denzel Washington School of Performing Arts in New York. And he was there with Denzel to actually launch this thing. Like, he is amazing. And if you want to hear just a really inspiring story, that was a piece that we did on the AWS for Games channel. That went live yesterday, so go ahead and check that out.
He's always great to see at events. He's like the loudest voice in the room.
Yes, and the most passionate. He's jumping around and everything is like, yo, just over the top. And he's just a wonderful, wonderful guy. So anyway, all right. Before we jump out, what are we playing? Are we playing anything? Do we have anything planned for the weekend, Dean? What do you got?
Playing Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah.
By the way, there's one more thing I wanted to mention, that Clean Play launched now on the PS5, and it has the option for you to join a $2 a month subscription, get some rewards for that, and then use renewable energy sources for powering your gameplay. Right. So, and this is the thing that's coming from David Helgeson. And
I was just going to say, is this
So
Helgeson's thing?
Yeah, I talked to Hilleman at the GDC about this and posted the story today. So,
Nice.
That's awesome.
That is very cool.
Really, really cool.
Awesome. All right, so you're playing Assassin's Creed. I loved the clapback that the Assassin's Creed account had on X, which was
Elon.
I was like, yeah, whoever is handling social media there deserves a raise. Like,
Yeah.
that was an excellent clapback. Which was great. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go look up Assassin's Creed, Elon
And
Musk.
Passive Exile 2, right?
What's that?
Oh, it was brilliant.
Elon,
That was
Passive
wonderful.
Exile 2, Assassin's Creed. You can find it.
Yeah. And it was
Love that.
It was pretty hysterical.
Yeah.
Susan, how about you? What are you playing? Are you guys have anything planned for the weekend? I know your family also does like board games and stuff like that. What do you have going on?
Yeah, board game wise, we are playing Marvel United. I don't know if you've seen that mega set where you have to play through scenarios. Lee bought like all of it on Kickstarter like 2 years ago. And so we have boxes and boxes and boxes of Marvel. So we've been playing through that. We've been getting quite good at that, and we've been playing Wingspan when we need a break from it, which is also quite good. I just installed Ashen, which I know has been out for a while. Lee and I have been looking for something co-op to play together. It's really hard already. Like, it's like playing a Dark Souls game. So I already suck at it, but we're going to play it together. And this weekend, I'm going to go see the stage play in London. If you can't get into London, they stream a lot of the plays to the theaters. And so you could do these nights where you could go see plays. Yeah. So Steve Coogan is in Doctor Strangelove, which apparently is amazing. We couldn't get tickets. So we're going to see it at a nice cinema on Saturday night. We're going to go watch Steve Coogan reprise the role of Doctor Strangelove. So yeah. And it's Mother's Day over here on Sunday.
Oh, well, happy Mother's
Mothering
Day.
Sunday here.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
One more thing I was
Painting
one more
the
thing.
Office.
Sorry, I was going to do was Warzone's bringing back their original map on April 3rd, the Verdansk map. So I'm going to go back into it at that point.
That's awesome.
Very good. And I'll be playing a game called Painting the Office this weekend. More than likely. I keep getting these hints that, what you should really do is, now that you've fixed all of the holes for all this stuff that you took down, probably need to repaint that office. I don't know, just trying to settle into play some get through Indiana Jones. I still haven't finished it yet, but yeah, that's about it. It's going to be hopefully a relaxing weekend after that painting is done. But yeah, there we go. And that's it. That's going to take us right to I know we went a little bit over, and I want to thank my co-hosts, as always, Dean Takahashi and Susan Cummings. Make sure you go ahead and check us out every Friday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. It looks like we're going to have to keep going on YouTube and on LinkedIn for a while, so I'm going to keep that going for a little bit. I took a poll and people were like, let's move it all over to YouTube, but we got to get people conditioned to doing so. So for the time being, it's going to sit on both of those platforms, and I'll make sure that they stay up and running. And that's going to take to the end. Thanks so much, everybody, for spending time today with us, and hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you all next week on Boss Rush. Bye.
All right.